Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are in week 2 of our July summer vacation, and we are coming to you from Cohatch in their Shadyside location. And our guest today is a good friend of mine, Mr. Thomas Exler. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
I appreciate you being here, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yep.
You have quite a story to tell. And what I know a good bit of it. We've talked about it in the past, and when we had Jamie on the podcast. And but what I'd like to do is just kind of get out of your way and let you talk a little bit about your where it all started, your background, and some of the things that you have done as a result of your disability as moving forward, and then we can talk about where you're looking to go from here. Does that sound good?
It's fine. Well, as you know, and as hopefully the audience knows, that I was born with a condition called bladder extrophy. And it's when the bladder is born on the outside at birth.
Okay.
And it's...
so literally on the outside of your body?
Literally, yeah, it's literally on the outside of birth. And your bladder is actually inside out, like a balloon inside out. So it's like cut down the middle. So because of that, I had many surgeries growing up. And the surgeries that I had then in the 60s and 70s are far different than now.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. And because of I had the surgeries, I got to know the kids from Children's Hospital and everyone there. And my mother created the first group in the world for kids with ostomy surgery.
Really?
Because I actually had a urostomy for most of my life. And because of that, she created this organization, and she had over 600 families at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the families I got to meet was a young lady that she was just in the hospital right here in Shadyside, and I went to go visit her, and that's someone I've known for 50, 60 years, and it's really a touching story.
Yeah, absolutely. That is quite a mountain for a child to climb, right?
Yes.
I mean, you obviously, you know how brutal kids can be when they notice anything different about somebody. I mean, I think a lot of the man that you are today has come from that. I mean, obviously our past impacts us.
I think it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Most of mine has come from that. Mm-hmm. It's come from the learning of all these people with all these different disabilities. We had spina bifida, we had Crohn's, we had ulcerative colitis, we had Sjögren's, Bladder syndrome was one of them. And many of these kids, you get to learn from them. You can learn more from the kids that are going through with this than you do yourself.
Sure. And you're still involved with young people that are, in different types of disabilities.
I've been involved with young people all over my life. Just recently, about Jamie's Dream Team.
Yeah.
And I've been with her for 10 years.
Okay.
And she's a wonderful person. But the amount of kids we meet, they don't put... She goes home crying about it.
It's a very emotional experience. It was emotional just talking to her, both of you about it when we did the podcast there. So, but you've done a lot of different things over your life in this space for this community,
right? And it's not just ostomies itself. We've had, because I worked at a camp for years that had kids with multiple procedures, multiple problems. And it was a intestinal urinary camp. But they also had disabilities with wheelchairs. They needed to help wheelchairs going up mountains. I mean, one of the amazing experience I had was we climbed a mountain with a guy who didn't have any arms or legs. It's like the amount they can pull. He had legs, but he pulled with his arms, and it was just an amazing experience. And I can fill up this entire hour for it. But we only have 20 minutes.
Well, no, so, but that's as a result of your disability, and you know, it's a really great story. Your mother creating that group back then.
Yeah.
You know, that was a thing. That was a heavy lift.
And that was all mail or
Yeah, because there was no internet.
There was no internet. And it was a very experience, and it was really her and my surgeon that created it.
Really?
And they were very instrumental in getting it word out, and it just became on and on and on. It just became too big for her to handle.
Wow, that is so cool. So how blessed are we, seriously, to have Children's Hospital, the Children's Hospital we have here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
It's one of the best in the world,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, you know that better than I do, and that's I mean, tell me about.
I wasn't just there. I worked there for years.
Yeah.
So that's
true. But what did that impact? How did that impact you as a child with a disability that it was hard to understand back then, right? That had to be.
I think in the long run, it was probably easier.
Was it really?
Yeah, because now the kids are just cruel.
No, they sure are.
And they're cruel for other reasons.
Yeah.
And it's not just because you're different. They're just cruel. And they can be a very interesting, and they have all this internet and all the access to social media.
Sure.
That's actually been able to exacerbate the situation.
You're right. We didn't have all of that back then. So you know your circle, your world, so to speak, was much smaller.
Right.
It was much smaller because it was just a group, your neighborhood, your community, whatever that case may be. But now, if you have any kind of an issue, or it's literally global.
So going on with, I can say this exactly. My mother, when she actually went on TV at age 5.
Is that right?
And
when you were 5.
When I was 5, right. And she went on TV and talked about all this stuff. I told this at one of the conferences I was doing and speaking about it. I said, well, at least your mother didn't go on TV. And because she was on TV, and I still had people probably in my 20s who were asking, how's that kid, how's your brother and sister with the kidneys? Is he all going okay?
Is that right?
And I was like, oh yeah, he's fine.
That's very funny. And you did a lot of keynote speaking and things like that at conferences and stuff, up until you had a stroke.
Right. And even after I did have a stroke, I was on a board, but I couldn't really speak because you need to have, I could do it off the cuff.
Yeah.
And I know this might sound like I'm doing it off the cuff here, but it's not the same.
Sure.
And,
sure. Because you did it internationally.
I did it
all over the world.
Right. I went over to Australia. I spoke in Germany and in England and in Iceland. That was one of the best ones I like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why does that stand out?
Iceland's a great country. I mean,
it's a
great country. I've been there 6 times. So
really,
and it's a great country. You get to meet a lot of people, and I got to know everyone in the extrophy and also ostomy group. But it was funny. It was only you could all fit in the room here. And it's a great place. And I got to tour the Children's Hospital there.
Okay.
And it was just a nice place.
Wow, that's really cool. That is really cool. So what has, over your experience, your life in advocating for these things, how have you been received? How has this whole thing been received here in the States?
It's been okay. I mean, there hasn't been much negative, but there's a lot of positive to it.
Cool.
I think the positive really outweighs the negative. And when I speak about it, I just use this first one, and I go, it's used two different numbers. One was I would always start that I was with extrophy, and I also have to wear glasses. They're my 2 disabilities. And I always get a person in the crowd going, wait, that's not a disability.
Sure it is.
I have none. I have no disabilities. It's all the way that you look at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And another one was, I always would say, I'm very blessed. I'm blessed that I was born with extrophy. And I always get people that would be like, oh, why are you blessed because you're born with extrophy? Because the benefit outweighed all the negative.
Really? That's very interesting.
Because I've got to meet so many interesting people around the world. I have friends on every single continent. I haven't been to every single continent, but I have friends there.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you go and speak with these people and you have them. And one of my favorite speeches was we were in Spain speaking, and it was with my good friend Misty. And we did the two things. I said I got the schedule arranged it beforehand to have her go last because I can't go after her. And we spoke there, and afterwards we stood for a half hour for pictures, and half of the people didn't understand what we said. They were translating, but they had no idea what we said.
Yeah.
And it was really touching. It was really a humbling experience.
That's powerful. And what an amazing perspective to have on something like that. Because most people would look at that as negative. You would have a hard time rising above that and finding the blessings.
Yeah, I would say if I could change anything, I'm not sure I'd change it. Really? Because it's very touching when you go to meet these people.
And you've met hundreds, maybe thousands of people you never would have met otherwise.
Thousands of very interesting people that are very famous too. And you would never expect that.
Is that right?
Yes.
Like, give us an example.
I wouldn't want to divulge your name.
Okay.
But I could say one's a BBC director.
Okay.
One, I'm a BBC presenter, and one's a football player. Another one's a hockey player. So
there you go.
I mean, there's all these people around the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is totally amazing. And, you could sit here and feel sorry for yourself, or you could sit here and say, I've had a great life. And I love the fact that that's where you go with this.
Exactly, and that's where I feel that this has been a great life. I'm looking back at it. I'm only going to be 60, but I'm looking back at it. And it's amazing how far this has come in the 60 years. Yeah. Medical has come way, way further than 60
How is the treatment of this different now than it was when you were young?
Now, on the best case scenario,
Okay.
they can repair and the patient becomes continent without a catheter. And in the worst, probably use a catheter. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't an option when I had it because I had my bladder removed at 4. So, but now, today they can repair the bladder, and it's not the best because there is some malformation of the bladder with the cell at cellular level. But can be repaired. It's pretty good. The repairs are really good, but I can't say it's for everyone to be that way. Right. Because there are more severe cases. There's cases that have colloquial extrophy. It's a more severe, involves the intestines on top of the bladder, and will require, in some cases, an intestinal transplant. So you might see a lot of the kids at the hospital that have intestinal transplants. That's what they're in for. But it's very rare because it's that's 1 in 250,000. Yeah. Extrophy's 1 in 40,000, give or take 10 or 20.
And it's still rare.
It's give or take. Yeah, that's rare. So in the city here, like there's 500,000 people in the city. What are we talking? 5?
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that is, I had a young lady who was I was singing with her father, and I heard through rumors that she had a child, and the child was with extrophy. And I went to the hospital to visit him a couple days old, and he just reached up and grabbed my hand, and I just knew it. That's a powerful moment. It was very powerful.
That's a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've developed bonds and made friendships, and that is such a cool thing. And people who are quote unquote have had normal lives without any kind of issues have a hard time doing that. But you're a very extroverted, outgoing guy. Yeah. You reached out to me, which is how we met and how we met Jamie and everything. And
the only reason I reached out to you is because it's Jamie, and I was doing her promotion.
Yeah.
But I have to leave my stuff on there so it look like I really do know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was just as intrigued by your story as Jamie's, and we have been talking for a while about getting you on the show and talking about that, because I think people living with any kind of disability, we still live in a world where acceptance is a very difficult and rare thing to find. The average person walking down the street, I think maybe they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to look at it, So acceptance is a really big deal. And to have somebody like you who has lived it and still reaches out and just with love and acceptance, that's a, man, I can't.
And that's what you got to accept everything you've been through. Another thing I usually speak about is, if you have one person can have a hangnail, it could be the biggest thing they have in their life.
Yeah.
That hangnail may be it. For me, you can't just laugh at them. It's because that may be for her, their psychological, the biggest thing.
The worst thing that ever happened to them.
Worst thing.
Yeah.
And that's just you got to think to the individual person.
Right.
Like the kid, like the one you had on last week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Rodney.
Yeah. That was stunning. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
People.
And honestly, you look at Rodney's situation, his story. There's only one reason that young man is alive, and that's God above us. No matter what you believe, you have to believe in a higher power when you see a story, hear a story like that. And much like you, I mean, your story is so uplifting and just renewing, because the human spirit is amazing. What you can overcome, what we can deal with,
Yeah, that's exactly the issue. And I think you need to understand each individual. Every person has a story.
Yeah.
And it's really, that's why I like this show. Is your way of presenting every person has a story, and it has to be told.
When my grandfather lived in McKeesport, I drive by there every day. I would do here and do there. And when you think about, everybody's heard of Make-A-Wish, right? But Jamie's Dream Team, which is doing very much the same thing, right?
It's slightly different
on a different scale, right? But
the people we help is a little bit different.
Yeah.
We talked about doing a wedding. We did a wedding in Florida in 12 days. I mean, no one would do that.
That's awesome.
No one would do that.
How would you even know how to pull that together?
Jamie did.
And I really love the relationship you have with her. How did you guys actually meet, by the way?
Well, we met. She contacted me because of her own health problems. And we got together, and she goes, "But I have this organization." I said, "The organization won't matter unless you help yourself." And I started working with her for a few things and a few things more, and it just started snowballing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And I know she appreciates you, and I know how you feel about her. That's pretty cool. So we had talked earlier about audience takeaways and things like that, and sometimes I get too far into the story and I lose sight of that. But I think your message is very, very, very powerful. So in your mind, what do you want the person watching this show to take away from your experience and your story?
Well, I don't leave it as just my experience, because I created this group called Courage to Shine.
Okay.
Which I feature mostly extrophy, but there is some that are not extrophy. Okay. They're a very unique story, similar to what you're doing. But we did it on the website. We did it years earlier.
Yeah, nice.
And I've been doing it for 10 years.
Okay.
And I have people write their own story down because they need to be told. Because it was a conference I was doing in 2009, and there was very bitter adults. And I got to the point where I can't change those adults, but I can change the kids that are growing up now.
Yeah.
So we did. So I had adults write their story and be able to have it out there. So if there's ever anyone who needs to find it, they can find it. So that, and Jamie's basically what I'm doing now, plus the Association of Bladder Extrophy Children of Community. And so I'm doing that in a few weeks, going to Milwaukee to be able to present that award to the next person. And we do an award once a year during that conference. And I would like to be able to get them on many different conferences for different medical reasons.
Sure.
So that's why Courage to Shine. It brings out, it's coming over the mountain, and you're climbing up the mountain just to shine, to show you.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Yeah. That is so cool. Courage to Shine. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So how if somebody is in the community, or if they have a child in particular who is dealing with a disability of some sort, how would they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through the website.
What's the website?
It's courage-2-to-shine.org.
Okay, .org.
Yeah, and you can do it through any of the emails because they all bounce to me. So
okay.
Yeah. So you can. I'm listed there as Thomas Exler. So
okay, and you have different social medias and people can follow you on there.
Of places. Plus, you can get me on Facebook, on Instagram, things like that.
That is really cool. That is really cool. So, how about if advice to a parent? So we're talking here. I have a child that has a disability. What advice would you give me as a father to father?
I would say don't panic first.
Okay.
Because I think that everyone's trying to find out what's there. Take a breather. Mm-hmm. And then look, that kid's going to make you proud. You don't know how he's going to make you proud now or she, but she will make you proud.
Yeah.
You just have to give him space, give him time, give him to learn. However, you have to be the case to provide the information for them.
Right.
Depends on the issue itself, but they have to be able to show them examples. I think examples, even if it's not the same person, examples are really good. And I told a lot of the kids when I used to at the camps I used to do, I said, no matter what, you don't leave this camp unless you find someone that you can write. Because at that time it was writing.
Yeah.
But someone you can write, or now it's the email address, or their phone number. You don't go to any of those conferences without finding someone there. Because there will be a time where you'll need some.
Yeah. We all need someone.
Yeah.
We all need somebody at some point. I don't care how healthy you are, I don't care blessed. We all need have somebody to talk to. And I am really happy that we've connected. I appreciate your friendship. I think, you inspire me in a lot of different ways. And listen, this is great. I hope we are able to continue to collaborate and keep moving forward. And so what's next for you? You just...
next is right now I'm going to Milwaukee on August 2nd or August 1st. Yeah.
Okay.
And going out there. And then back I'm just going to be cruising the summer.
Just keep doing you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. We will do it again. And we love being involved with you and your community and everything that goes on. So let's keep collaborating and keep getting the message out there